Backpacks for Life is a great example of how we grow with a client over the course of many years. Brett and Alexa are the founders of Backpacks for Life. They're a husband and wife team. I believe they came to us around 2015. Brett had served as a Marine in the military, and when he came back, he really saw the homeless problem of homeless veterans as something that he wanted to dive into and really help solve. So him and his wife got together, formed Backpacks for Life, created a 501c3 charity. Backpacks for Life is a perfect name for the organization because it describes exactly what they do. They would give out backpacks to homeless veterans filled with a bunch of supplies that they need. Things like toothbrushes, socks, information to other pathways and resources for them as well. So when they came to us, they wanted to make a very short explainer video showcasing exactly what their organization was about. Being a charity, they don't operate exactly like another business that's trying to turn a profit, and we wanted to come up with a very friendly and affordable solution to the type of video they were trying to make. So we wrote a script, had a very simple animation to it, nothing crazy, didn't go into the realm of 3D, and it got across exactly what their organization did, and it was a perfect fit for where they were at that time in the lifespan of their organization. We kept in touch with them over the years, we'd watched their organization grow, and we were really proud in what they were doing and still are. In 2019, they ended up reaching back to us because they had a very interesting meeting with a gentleman named Robert Max. And according to him and other scholars that we spoke with, he was the only person at that time who was alive that had escaped Nazi slave labor. His story was incredible, and they had approached us about making a documentary about him. We were very excited about this because it was being able to speak to somebody who was literally a part of history. Brett and Alexa, as well as Mr. Max, have been able to secure funding for the project from the Gottlieb Foundation. We met with Mr. Max, we had a very long conversation with him about his story. He had told his story numerous times in front of audiences, but he didn't have an encapsulation in something that would be like a documentary that you could present towards future generations and really have them understand the emotional impact of what he'd gone through. So that was the specific purpose of the documentary we set out to make on him. He had written a book about everything that he had gone through. We were able to read through that, and it was highly impactful. And one of the problems that we had to overcome in the pre-production process was that he had been in a Nazi slave labor camp. There's no specific photos of him that we could utilize or cut to during his time in the war. So part of the studying that I did to take on and look into this is I went back and watched a bunch of Ken Burns documentaries. I ended up also watching the masterclass with Ken Burns just to see if there was anything that I can glean and take away from that. One of the big things in any Ken Burns documentary is photos. For instance, in his first large documentary, The Brooklyn Bridge, there's a bunch of historical photos that showcase the building of the Brooklyn Bridge. It works very effectively, that intercut with different interviews. In our specific case, there's a lot of different photos of World War II, but this is such a singular story of Mr. Max's story that we didn't want to just cut to different photos that related to slave labor but weren't specifically of him. So we worked with our animator Zoran and his team on this and really gave them a tough puzzle without an exact solution. We went back and forth with numerous tests on this, and what we were trying to get was the idea and feel of a memory when the audience saw this. That, with the use of subtle sound effects throughout this, would mix very well and not distract, but support the memories that Mr. Max was talking about. One of the other things I noticed during the pre-production process is that when Mr. Max was telling a story, he really wanted to look at a face and speak directly to someone. I wanted to find a way to translate that where he would be looking directly at the audience, and the only way for him to do that was to be looking directly at a lens. But I knew he'd not be able to give his performance if he's just staring back at a piece of glass looking at him. So one of the things that we implemented was the use of a teleprompter, but instead of having words on there, we would broadcast a live version of my face. So when you're actually seeing him tell his story in this documentary, he's looking directly at a human face. That was very helpful for him, and it's very effective when viewing the piece. He's talking directly to you. A lot of what we do here is very corporate video related, so being able to make something like this, which is it's more than an art piece or anything. It's the encapsulation of this man telling a very deep part of history and his specific story. And it was a pleasure to be able to be a part of that and work on that with him.
96 may be old in years, but I have enthusiasm for the work that I do, which is prolonging the memories of the Holocaust. And I can promise I will continue doing that as long as I'm allowed to continue this thriving life. Thank you so much.
Shortly after we finished the video and we sent it to him, he was able to see it, and he was unbelievably moved by it and what we had done. He had put a lot of faith into us, and he passed away not long after he got to view the piece. But he was exceedingly supportive and very happy about it. So that was a great pleasure to work on. Transitioning back into the through line of working with Brett and Alexa. The next thing Brett and Alexa came to us with was a new platform called Roger. This was an offshoot from Backpacks for Life and something that would actually support it. Online, there are a lot of services that are available to veterans, but that entire world is exceedingly confusing, specifically for the veterans and or their caregivers. There wasn't one specific centralized location where a veteran could go put their rank, their age, their service, their discharge status, and then find out what programs were available to them. What Brett and Alexa were able to do remarkably over the course of a long period of time was be able to create one centralized location where a veteran could go in there, put in their service record, and then be able to find out what resources were available to them. So what they really needed was one main video that described them, the brand, and the service. Within that video, you got to see Brett, you got to see Alexa, they got to explain the high level of their specific service so somebody could see this, understand exactly what they do, and know if this is a right fit for them. What they also really wanted to do is create 2 site walkthrough videos that would explain exactly to the veterans or the caregivers how to utilize the site. Even though the site is very intuitive, not so many people are exactly technically literate, and a site walkthrough video can showcase exactly step-by-step how to utilize the site. So we had an in-depth pre-production process with them on that. We got to understand exactly what main points they wanted to get across to the viewer. We wrote the scripts, we casted the voiceovers, we took the screen caps, and those specific videos are purely informative. They don't have a bunch of bells and whistles on them, they're never something that's going to go viral, but they're exceedingly important for the people who need that information and need to navigate through the site with a little extra help. After we completed those videos, they launched the site and they're getting amazing feedback from people. Currently, we're exploring different avenues with Brett and Alexa and the Gottlieb Foundation and providing options on the distribution of the Robert Max documentary. We're also staying in touch with them about Roger, how it's doing, and over the course of watching Brett and Alexa grow their organizations, it has been a pleasure, and it isn't just like us working with them as an organization, it's much more like working with friends. And that in the end is the ultimate goal, being able to work with friends.